Sri Sachidananda Sadguru Sainath Maharaj Ki Jai. Sri Sai SATCHARITRA, an Insight. Episode-78. My humble prostrations at the lotus feet of our Sadguru Sai. By the divine grace of Sai, an attempt has been made to translate the gist of the divine discourse of Sri Ramanathan brother telecasted in Sai TV. This is purely done to share the glory of Sai and his divine teachings with more insight to the aspirants. Om Gurur Brahma Gurur Vishnu Gurur Devo Maheshwaraha Gurur Sakshat Parabrahmam Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Devotees, in the previous episode, we heard that Hemat Panji was reading the holy scripture Nath Bhagavat at Shyama's house. He reads this divine book every morning, but that day he couldn't complete his reading. All-knowing Baba had sent Hemat Panji to Shyama's house to not only impart his teaching through Shyama in the guise of ₹15 dakshana, but also to give an opportune to complete his Anushtan without any interruption. Reading of divine texts regularly are termed as Upasana or Anushtan in Sanskrit. This term reminds me of a book written by Sri Upasani Maharaj. Anushtan comprises of two terms, Anu plus Stan. Anu means firm, that is, performing certain activity with a firm conviction, and Stan denotes place or a specific state. So, Anustan means the state which we create for ourselves as an equivalent to a state which we desire to achieve or which we feel cannot be attained is Anushtan. Upasani Maharaj has given an elaborate discourse on this subject, and the compilation of his discourses have been translated into English by Mr. S. Subbarao, which was originally discoursed in Marathi language by Upasani Maharaj. This discourse reflects the essence of Anushtan and its kinds. There are many types of Anushtan, and the perusal of any sacred book is one such. Those who read a scripture as well as they who listen to it shall have to strictly conform to certain regulations. The act or mode of behavior which is well regulated and systematic becomes an Anushtan. Upasani Maharaj mentions that the aspirant can attain the goal of life, that is self-realization, by practicing this kind of Anushtan. The most essential thing is to dedicate a time to God and should be held sacred and utilized by an aspirant only for spiritual practices and not for any worldly activities. One can utilize this time either to read a book, perform puja rituals, or sit in meditation. So, your success depends in proportion to the strength of your purpose. Now, getting back to the original thread, Hemat Panji had practiced the Anushtan of reading Nath Bhagavat every morning, but that day he couldn't follow it. Upasani Maharaj says, if there is a discontinuation in the practices due to our negligence or indolence, then the Anushtan will go waste. He further insists the aspirants to maintain the time of your Anushtan at all costs. Furthermore, Upasani Maharaj highlights the importance of carrying Anushtan not only at a fixed time but also in a fixed place. He outlines that God will reveal Himself to us in that very place. We will not be obliged to go anywhere or to any individual. The sanctity of this period should carefully be preserved. If death overtakes you during that time, you are indeed blessed, for you obtain thereby the final fruits of perfecting your Anushtan. If the Anushthan is duly discharged throughout your lifetime, the god of death will come to take you away during the time only. I am sure, devotees, by now you must have got the significance of Anushthan. Let me also quote an example in this connection. Baba assured Gaga Sahib that he will take him in Pushpaka Vimana, which means that Dikshit's death would be happy and peaceful. Baba carried out his undertaking to carry Gaga in a Vimana, and he did this. Yes, Gaga died while traveling in the train, which itself is like a Vimana, that is a vehicle through which we commute. Most of all, he was remembering Baba's loving grace. And devotees, you will be astonished to hear that the time at which Gaga Sahib breathed his last in the train was his Anushthan time. Every day at that hour of the day, Gaga Sahib Dikshit would read Eknath Bhagavat, and on 5th July 1926 he left his body exactly during the time of his Anushthan. Now, Hemat Panji was of the firm conviction that Baba has sent him to Shama's house for the sake of completing his Anushthan, that is, to finish his reading of Eknath Bhagavat. As stated earlier, Nath Bhagavat is a commentary on the 11th section, that is 11th skanda of Srimad Bhagavatam. And since it is authored by Saint Eknath, the book was titled as Eknath Bhagavat. This book is known by various names as it comprises of the 11th section of Bhagavatam. It is also called as Ekadasa Skandam, and the term Ekadasa in Sanskrit means 11. The other names for this spiritual treatise is Uddhava Gita, as this book delivers the discussions that took place between Lord Krishna and Uddhava. Another name for this book is Krishna Uddhava Samvadam. The Sanskrit word Samvadam means discussion, as this section brings the conversation that took place between Lord Krishna and Uddhava. It got this name also. In general, there is a confusion among many between Bhagavad Gita and Srimad Bhagavatam. Bhagavad Gita is a part of the Bhishma Parva of the Mahabharata, and it is a dialogue between Lord Krishna and Arjuna on the battlefield before the commencement of the Great War, where Sri Krishna explains the essentials of the warrior dharma to Arjuna. Whereas Srimad Bhagavatam is the fifth major Purana amongst 18 Puranas. It is the essence of all the Vedas. It contains 12 different parts and around 18,000 verses. This is a chronicle of the various avatars of Lord Vishnu, contains hundreds of conversations between self-realized kings, yogis, and sages of the ancient world on the subject of how to achieve perfection in life. It also contains Lord Krishna's answers for the questions by Uddhava and advices on how to serve him with devotion and find liberation when he himself is no longer physically present on earth. And this part of Bhagavatam is popularly known as Uddhava Gita. The commentary on Bhagavad Gita professed by the saint and poet Jnaneshwar Maharaj is termed as Jnaneshwari. This is one of the few texts that had such a lasting impact on the religious landscape of Maharashtra. It is written in Marathi language using easy and lucid examples and was very helpful even for the common man to understand the teachings in Bhagavad Gita, which also emphasized on good conduct, morality, and pious way of living that each person could follow. Jnaneshwari became the common man's Gita. Jnaneshwari expanded the Bhagavad Gita, which consisted of 700 slokas, into around 9,999 Marathi verses. The first line of each OV rhymes with the next two, rendering a lyrical quality for the entire work. As this book consists of the dialogue between Nara and Narayana, Arjuna and Sri Krishna is aptly described as Jnanamaya Pradipa, the light of knowledge, as the young Saint Jnaneshwar had at a very young age a vision of that light and began to give discourses on the Gita, which came to be known as Bhavartha Deepika or Jnaneshwari, bringing to light the deeper meaning and hidden significance of the dialogue between the great Lord and Arjuna. The collection of sermons by Lord Krishna to Uddhava is titled as Uddhava Gita, which is also known as Hamsa Gita. Here the term Hamsa is a metaphor for the Paramahansa as well as a natural teacher of grace evident in nature. This book consists of the final discourse to Uddhava before the Lord draws his worldly descent and pastimes to completion. Lord Krishna spoke the Bhagavad Gita on the battlefield of Kurukshetra when his friend Arjuna refused to execute his duty, fearing the death of his family members. The same Lord spoke the Uddhava Gita to another dear and intimate devotee, Sri Uddhava, teaching him to renounce worldly attachments to take to the path of complete dedication to God. Uddhava posed several questions and they were all answered by the Lord with sound logic and philosophy. Lord Krishna, before departing from earth, wished to deliver his ultimate teaching to the sages of Badrikashram, who will in turn benefit humankind, and this he did through Uddhava. The Marathi poetic commentary by Sant Eknath on this 11th volume or Skanda of the Bhagavata Mahapurana is known as Sri Eknath Bhagavat. Many Maharashtrians follow the ritual of reading a portion of this text every day. One should not get up without understanding that portion of the content or done halfway. And since Hemat Panji left it halfway, the Anushtan becomes incomplete, which is now completed by him through the grace of Sainath Maharaj. Reading of this holy scripture is acknowledged by our Sadguru Sainath Maharaj, and it is truly a divine nectar as it contains the sermons of Lord Krishna. Hence, I request all the listeners to read this text and enjoy the great conversations between the Lord and his intimate friend and devotee Uddhav. Let us now listen to Hemat Panji, marveling at his description that highlights the essence of this holy scripture. He says, "This book is written for the salvation of the world, was told to Brahma the creator by Narayana, Vishnu, and was the seed sowed by him in the field which Narada reaped. That farm was cultivated in 10 told ways by Bhadrayan, and Shuka selected a few best ears of the corn for the sake of Parikshit in his threshing ground in the scuttle. Sridhar Swami cleaned it, Janardhan Swami measured it, and Nath prepared plenty of delicious dishes from it. The 11th chapter is the mine of devotion, love, and happiness from the Brindavan with 32 corners. This book is also termed as Brindavan Poti, as it explains that the Brindavan on earth is a replica of Krishna's eternal residence in the spiritual world. Devotees, we shall heed to the amazing Leela that describes how this book earned this title. Gaga Sahib Dikshit followed a ritual of reading this book as instructed by Sainath Maharaj. In fact, before he began this practice, he was reading another divine scripture by named Harivarada, and as soon as he completed his Parayan, he went and told Baba about his completion and asked if he has to do one more Parayan of the same text or if he has to commence reading any other scripture. Immediately, Baba advised him to read Brindavan Poti, authored by Eknath. Dikshit Ji was puzzled as he had never heard about this book. But Baba has left a clue that it was authored by Eknath Maharaj, so he thought he can search for it. Scholarly devotees such as Dada Kelkar and Kaparde were then present with Baba, so immediately Dikshit ji enquired them about the book, whereas they were also not aware of it. Sant Eknath Maharaj authored several books and wrote commentaries for many scriptures. Among them, 5 books were very popular, which are Chatushloki Bhagavat, comprises of 4 verses that summarizes the entire teaching of Bhagavad Gita, Sri Rukmini Swayamvar Hastamalak, which describes the wedding of the princess of Vidarbha, who became the first and chief consort of Lord Krishna, then Chiranjeevi Pada, which elucidates about the 9 immortals of Kali Yuga until the next Satya Yuga, Eknath Bhagavat and Bhavarta Ramayan, which is also one of his monumental works, is a voluminous and amplified version of the Ramayana. This is believed to be the last work of Sant Eknath. His literary works also include Ananda Lahari, Shukashtak, Prahlad Vijaya, Gita Sar, Swatma Sukha, and many more. But in spite of a diligent search, Dikshit ji could not find the book Brindavan Poti. After contemplating for a while, Dikshit predicted that it could be Eknath Bhagavat, as the title mentioned by Baba says Brindavan, which is connected with Lord Krishna, and as Nath Bhagavat is based on Bhagavad Gita. There is a possibility that Brindavan Gita could be Nath Bhagavat. Hence, he picked up Nath Bhagavat. There was a tradition followed by Baba devotees to always seek Thai's blessings before commencing Parayan of any religious scripture, and Dikshit ji also took the book, went to Baba to confirm if this was the book indicated by Baba and sought his grace. Dikshit ji asked Baba, "Baba, is this the book you indicated for Parayan?" Baba immediately confirmed, saying, "Yes, this is the Brindavan Poti that I was mentioning to you. Do Parayan of this holy scripture." None can proclaim if Baba has read a book or not, but he had profound knowledge of various scriptures. His knowledge was rich and rational. It had no boundaries. It is not confined to any language or religion. Now, Dikshit ji began his Anushthan of reading the scripture as instructed by Baba. While he was reading Nath Bhagavat, he came across a verse for which the commentary was, "This is not just the 11th section of Bhagavad Gita, but this is a Brindavan that comprises of 31 chapters, and Lord Krishna himself resides in this book." The moment Gaga Sahib Dikshit read those lines, he could instantly relate to Baba's assertion of this book as Brindavan Poti. Gaga Sahib wondered at this pronouncement of Baba and thought, unless one is proficient and has a profound insight of this book, they cannot refer this book as Brindavan Poti. As Baba himself had chosen this great epic for Dikshit ji to do the Parayan, Dikshit ji sincerely and devotedly followed his Anushthan by rising up early in the morning, and after finishing his morning routine and puja rituals, consuming a moderate diet and distributing prasad to those devotees in the Vada, he would commence his reading. But when he sits to read the Poti, he would read it out loud, which will in turn be a great satsang for those present there. During daytime, he would do Parayan of Eknath Bhagavat, and at night Bhavarta Ramayan. This was his Anushthan, which is also mentioned by Hemat Panji in Sri Sai SATCHARITRA. Sainath Maharaj directed some of his devotees to listen to these Parayan, and few who came to Baba with questions were guided to heed to the reading, and they got their answers there and went away contented. There are many amazing Leelas connected to these Parayan, and we shall heed to them in the coming episode. Bow to Sri Sai. Peace be to all. Om Sai Ram.